Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to chapters 21 and 22 of Dave. Excuse me. Try that again. Scratch all that. Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to chapters 23 and 24 of David Walliams' Ice Monster. Now, remember, you need to pay close attention to the story because at the end you do have to answer with complete sentences. If you don't know the answer, we know what you can do to find the answer, right? If you're reading and you don't know the answer to a question, what do you always do? You reread the story, right? So in this case, you would re-listen to the story. All right, let's get started with chapters 23 and 24 in Ice Monster. Chapter 23, The Sticky Fingers Gang. Elsie knew there was no way she could do all this on her own, so she decided to get some help, expert help. There was a legendary group of tearaways who were the best pickpockets in the whole of London. If only she could find them. They were named the Sticky Fingers Gang. They were so called because their sticky little fingers would worm their way into the coat pockets of every rich lady and gentleman in London, and then worm their way out with things stuck to them. Sometimes it would be nothing more than half a sucked sweet, a snotty rag, or worst of all, a set of false teeth. However, at other times their fingers would stick themselves into precious things like pocket watches, gold coins, silver-rimmed spectacles, jewels, and, of course, silk handkerchiefs. The members of the Sticky Fingers Gang were Joseph, or Big Joe, the self-appointed leader. He could pick pockets in his sleep. Zoe, the real leader, she had been thieving since before she could walk. She was known to readers of the Times, who wrote often about her crimes as the baby-faced baddie. Nellie was better known as Smelly Nellie, as she used her bottom burps to distract her victims. Sounds like a third grader. Bella, or Little Un, was the shortest of the gang. She could barely reach the pockets of the rich ladies and gentlemen of London, so carried a stool around with her to help. Lottie was the baddest of the lot. Pickpocketing was just one of her many crimes. She was wanted by police forces all over England for duffing up a strong man, doing a cheesy burp in the face of a nun, and force-feeding cheese to a nun. Grace, or Dangerous Grace, was the toughest member of the gang. Nobody crossed Grace unless they wanted a wedgie, a Chinese burn, or a knuckle sandwich. George, or Guiltless George, looked innocent, but he was anything but. George disguised himself as a choir boy, which meant he could get away with absolute murder. Light-fingered Freya could steal for England. One day, at a fairground, she stole 318 silk handkerchiefs, a barrel of sugar plums, and a carousel. Asia and Athena were sisters and partners in crime. When they weren't warring with each other, they oversaw a criminal empire that included gambling, extortion, and bare-knuckle boxing. They were known as the Sisters of No Mercy. Two more sisters rounded off the gang, Sanaya and Rihanna, the gruesome twosome. The pair worked as a team. Sanaya would pose as a sweet flower, selling as her little sister. Rihanna came around the back and robbed you blind. The Sticky Fingers Gang were legendary figures on the streets of London. Rumors of their exploits swirled across the city, but nobody had a clue where to find them, except Elsie. Elsie had noticed that all over London there were small red handprints on walls and buildings. Once in the dead of night, she had seen Dangerous Grace put one at the side of St. Paul's Cathedral. Elsie was sure it was some kind of secret sign, some way that the gang communicated with one another. So Elsie had followed Grace as she added more red handprints to the door of 10 Downing Street and even Westminster Abbey. The handprints looked like arrows pointing somewhere. So the night the professor sent Elsie out on her mission, she followed the trail to the way of the Houses of Parliament. The last one she found was up on the clock tower of Big Ben. It pointed upwards. Surely this couldn't mean that the Sticky Fingers gang's secret hideout was up there. There was only one way to find out. Elsie forced open a tiny door at the base and climbed up the staircase to the very top of the tower. "Hello!" called out Elsie as she stepped into the room, a huge clock face looming behind her like a full moon. "Bong!" bonged Big Ben. "Is there anybody there?" Elsie asked. The girl could swear she heard scuttling. Maybe it was a rat. Maybe it wasn't. "Hello? I'm looking for the Sticky Fingers." Before she could utter the word gang, a cloth bag was thrown over her head. "Help!" she screamed. "Bong!" "Shut your face!" hissed an unseen voice. Elsie was hurled into a corner, and she took the bag off her head. Boom! A number of children appeared from the shadows. "What the stink are you doing here?" demanded Big Joe. Boom! Zoe pushed him aside. "What are you doing here, little mite? If you want to join our gang, you better think again." Bong! The two sisters, Sanaya and Rihanna, pulled Elsie to her feet and began playing catch with her as if she were a ball. "Think you're tough enough, do ya?" said the older one. "You couldn't punch your way out of a paper bag," added the younger one. Bong! Suddenly, a shove came from behind Elsie. Turned round, it was Grace. The girl yanked Elsie's ear. "Ow! Cry baby!" snorted Grace. Bong! George, dressed in his choir boy disguise, stepped forward, wielding a hymn book. Bonk! He bashed it down on the girl's head. "Ow! Oops!" he chuckled. "I dropped me hymn book." Bong! Now it was Bella's turn. The little girl marched forward and plonked her stool down in front of Elsie. She climbed on it and then poked Elsie in the eye. Plonk! Ah! Bong! "You ain't seen nothing, right? Or, if you like, I can do the other eye." No, please," pleaded Elsie. Bong! Then Asia and Athena took their turns, using the girl as a punch bag. "She's about as tough as a plate of jelly." "She'll be jelly when we're finished with her." Bong! Finally, Nellie stepped forward. She wore heavy boots, far too big for her, and stamped on the little girl's toes. Dunk! Ah! Bong! "Not so tough now, are you?" sneered Nellie. "Why don't you go running back to Mummy?" Elsie took a deep breath and gathered her thoughts. "Because, like you, I ain't got no mummy. And please, I need you to help someone, or rather something, that don't have one neither." "Something?" asked Zoe. The Sticky Fingers gang all leaned forward. Elsie grinned from ear to ear. She had them hooked. All right, my friends, that does it for chapters 23 and 24. Remember, here we go. If you do, when you answer your questions, you must answer them with complete sentences. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. Remember, if you don't know the answer to the question, rewatch and re-listen to the story. Have a great rest of your day.
Congressman, thank you very much for being back on the show.
Thank you so much, County.
A Sticky Fingers gang, they are something.
So,